Welcome back to the Prosperous Homeschool Summit, where we help homeschool families and those interested in homeschooling lead healthy, productive, and prosperous lives. Today we have Leeling Chu, who is with us from Singapore Math, and she has a really interesting story. So I'm super excited that you're here, Leeling. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I would just like to start off with that awesome story that you started telling me about how God brought you on this journey to start the program that you've started with Singapore Math. So feel free to go as far back as you need to get that started.
All right. Yes. So yeah, God's hand is definitely on every step of the way. I'm so glad invited to share this journey with y'all. So basically it started out in 2016, December. I had a friend and she was taking care of two little girls after school, picking them up, doing homework with them. So she was moving away. So she had me in mind, like, oh, maybe I should ask Leeling whether she wanted to take over these two girls. So I said, sure. I was homeschooling my kids at that time. They were like kind of in high school, middle school. So I said, sure. So that was December 2016. And then 2017, May, I was in my living room. Out of the blue, there was a speaking that came. I will give you more students this summer. That was really strange because I was homeschooling, like I said. I wasn't looking for more students. I wasn't looking to start any business at all. But that speaking was really clear. I will give you more students this summer. So then that week, that Wednesday, I was attending a prayer meeting in our elder's house, and then the elder's wife is very resourceful woman. She just asked me like, "Hey, Leeling, you should consider starting like a Kumon, right? Like an eye level, because we have a church friend that owns an eye level." So she said, "You should do that. Follow so and so." And then I was like, well, the first reaction, I was like, my husband was a minister at that time. So my first reaction was, well, we're full-timers. We don't really have a lot of funds for investment. She's like, oh, that's no problem. Just all those junk mail that come into that credit card, give you the credit card interest free for a year. Just use those. And you just use a few of those. And when you earn
So
money, then you pay them back. I was like,
Oh my
okay,
gosh.
that's an interesting
That's the way
idea.
she's like, get a little debt to get this started.
Right. And then another thing, I was like, well, I'm still homeschooling my kids. She's like, oh, that's no problem. This is like after school hours. I was like, oh, that's true too. So she's like, okay, just talk to so and so. She has friend that want to sell to eye levels. I was like, okay. So we eventually, I figure out who this person is. Turned out that this is an engineer. He thought that's the easy money. So he buys like 3 eye levels. So he thought, he'd be able to manage it. It turned out that he wasn't able to. So he wanted to sell 2 of them. So we actually went to talk to him and everything was set up to go. The whole place was renovated. There's already students. But it turned out that, see, I live in Round Rock and that place was like 15 minutes south of us in Austin. The rent itself is $3,000 a month. And I need 40 students just break even. I was like, probably not. I told my husband I didn't want a business. I just love to teach. I want to teach,
Right.
So then he was encouraging me like, well, you don't really need a franchise. You can just teach out of a living room, And I was like, well, that's true too. I was like, okay, what do I teach? Where do I get students?
Huh?
And then one day, as I was considering this, no, actually, I wasn't even really considering about it. Just another speaking came. That's from God. Singapore Math. And I literally jumped out of bed. I was like, this is it. This is really it. Like I wasn't sure how to like sell myself as a great tutor, even though I love to teach, but with Singapore Math, I taught my kids using Singapore Math, right? So I knew I can stand behind the credibility of this wonderful world-renowned curriculum. I was like, perfect, it's totally perfect. So then what I did next was I just basically, set up my own easel, get my curriculum going, sign up sheets and then I went to this North Austin, a Korean store, but they have a huge lobby in the front. So I just paid them $100 every Saturday. I would sit there with all my material from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I would just sit there every week, every Saturday. And that's how I got my first batch of students. And
wow.
Yeah, I wasn't into social media. I didn't know how to advertise on Facebook, things like that. I didn't know nothing like that, but I had this little channel that I got my student. So yeah, my first batch of student came from that. And so that was summer of 2017. So 2017, June, officially Singapore Math classes and camps were incorporated. Yeah. Wow. And then more stories to come. 2017 November, I had this nudging from the Lord to do math camps. I was scared to death. I was like, what is this? I have never attended one. I didn't know what to do, but this feeling was really, really strong. Whole math camps in the summer. So I was like, I didn't know what to do, seriously. But the voice was really clear. So then December 2017, there's this organization, homeschool organization, they were doing this event called Summer in Winter. They wanted to advertise summer activities in the winter time. So basically I was like, okay, I can pay $5 to do this, set up a table, make a little flyer. So I went. I felt like, the idea of doing summer camps like got validated just because I there, with my flyers, even though I still didn't know what to do. And actually no student came from that, but it's okay. It's mainly like I felt like the Lord was preparing me to like really do this, right? So then 2018 March, usually I did my family tax return in the spring break. So after March, after I was done with that, I was like, okay, Lord, I'm ready now. What do I do? So one day I was bringing my son to his science team, and right next to that location, there was a middle school. So I just walk in the middle school and I asked the front desk lady, I said, is it okay if I bring my little yard sign and put it in the school for my math camp? And she's like, no, you can't do that. We don't let vendors do that, but you can call the district. If the district say okay, then you can come back with your yard sign. I was like, okay. So I just called them. And then turned out that the lady said, no, we don't let you do that, but you can come into our system, the Round Rock Independent School District system, to teach after school program, and you can hold math camps there. So yeah, so then of course I was already kind of at beginning of April. So I said, is it too late for me to like hold summer camp? She's like, yeah, it's too late for this summer. And I said, when do I need to start the process for next summer? She's like, now.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so like I prepared a year before.
Yeah.
So then okay, I said, okay, so let me start. Then the first thing they had me do was to interview with the director of the enrichment program. So I prepared all my books, material, brought it to her, and she fell in love immediately with everything I have to offer. In fact, she told me that Round Rock ISD was just then sent a group of people to Singapore to learn from them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. God connecting dots there. Amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So she just totally fell in love with that curriculum. And even though I wasn't able to hold camps in the system that summer, she was so impressed with the program that she wanted to help me out. She's like, okay, give me your electronic flyer and give me 6 yard signs. I'm willing to put it in 6 different schools for you.
Wow.
Yeah, and then so I did. I gave her 6 yard signs. I gave her my electronic flyer. So she posted. We have so many thousands of parents in the district, right? And so once the flyer went out, just one day, it only went out one day. The next day, she reached out to me again. She's like, sorry, Leeling, I had to retract the flyer because you were holding your camp in your living room, even though you have your commercial liability. Because of the liability issue, they wouldn't let us do that. They wouldn't, the Round IC would not advertise my service. Yeah. So basically everything got retracted. He's supposed to take away the yard signs and the flyer. And she did take away the flyers, but the whole yard sign was there for the whole summer still. So, but the thing is, just because the flyer went out one day, that was enough to get a lot of attention.
Wow.
Attention. My whole summer was filled with campers because of that one day. It was
Wow.
only God could have done this. Only God could have done this.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes,
We
yes.
think we need to pay for all this marketing sometimes. And God's like, hold on, give me one day.
Right.
Be willing and obedient. Give me one day. Yeah.
Right. So I was only planning to hold like a morning camps, but then it turned out that a lot of parents say, "Oh, can you do day camp?" Because I work all day, my kids need to be in day camps, and I was like, "Okay." Last minute, I came up all this, afternoon activities for them, and this was basically my whole summer was filled in my living room. I have so much fun with them. So that was summer 2018, and from that camp, all the word went out, and that brought in another bunch of tutoring students also. And a lot of them were in the Indian communities where the Indians, for some reason, among the Asians, are like the race that know about Singapore math the most. And a lot of them are pretty advanced. And these parents came from India. They're highly educated engineers, so they really have a head start with their kids. The kids are so super smart. All of them are incredible. So the word got out about my program. And so they were telling their friends about it, right? So I started traveling to the Indian community for fall and spring of 2018 fall and 2019 spring. So I started traveling there. Instead of people coming to my house, I went to their community to teach. So I would tell them, if you can give me 6 kids, I will go to your house to teach.
Wow,
So they just,
that's great.
getting groups of kids together. Then my husband stopped serving in May 2019. He wanted to do something else. And so that summer of 2019, it's another miracle. Another
He was a
miracle.
pastor? Is that
He
what you
was
said?
he was like a campus minister before
Okay.
that. Yeah. So then that May 2019, he wanted to stop serving. And that summer, for some, only God's hand again.
Yeah.
The students had to come to my house to do assessment before I place them in the class, right? So that summer, the students were coming to my house like raining. Like every week, there'll be students that come every week.
Wow.
By the end of that summer, I had over 100 students.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, only God could have done this.
Yeah.
And so then fall 2019, I started traveling to Avery Ranch. That's a community, 6 days a week for 3 hours every day. And every hour I have 6 students. So that's over 100 students.
Yes.
So that was fall 2019. And then 2020, March, the whole world shuts down.
Right.
It's the COVID. So everything had to be over Zoom. So that was kind of last minute change.
Like so many of us had to do.
Right. But
I had to do the same thing with dance classes.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's tough.
We did it.
Yeah. So then also once we got on Zoom, we also start offering English program because a lot of like about 1/3 of my students will ask, oh, do you know about English, program? I was like, okay, yeah, we also offer English program. So then by 2020, so basically we're on Zoom. I didn't realize at that time it's actually for the better for my company. And then basically now I have students all over the US.
Yeah.
And then also let's say so now 4 years later, we have 150 students and doing both English and math. And we will hope to scale to 600 students in about 2 years.
Wow. It's a huge number. Okay, so I'm interested from the business standpoint, from being in your living room and having a handful of students, right? And your children were a part of this process too, so they've watched you grow, correct?
Yes.
Very interesting. How did you handle that big influx of students? Did you have to hire people to come alongside you, or what did you do for that?
Yeah, right before COVID, I started hiring. In fact, even that alone is an amazing story. Can I share that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to hire one person, and it turned out that this person, he was a math major at the university here, and he's a dear believer. And he was new among in our church, so I didn't really know him that well. But when we first met, I basically hired him on the spot, because I found out, oh, he's taught before, he's a math major, it's like nothing could be better, right?
Right.
And the thing is, later on, he shared the story with me that he wanted to advertise himself and he wanted to get students for himself. But the Lord told him, you don't need to do that. I will prepare for you. I'll prepare a job for you. I mean, I was just even blown away just by that detail.
Yeah.
So the Lord put us together, and he
Yeah.
was like first tutor, wonderful. And so that's how it all started. And then, he brought his friends to tutor. Yeah. So right now, basically, we're hiring all over the world.
Awesome. That's amazing. And so you have a whole different process for what that looks like, I'm sure. Are you
Absolutely.
still doing the tutoring yourself, or are you now in the logistics of running the business more?
I really love teaching. It was really hard for me to have to start slowly give up my classes, but I still have a few left. To me, it's relaxing. At the end of the day, 5 o'clock, the students love me. It was so cute. A few weeks ago, I was like, hey, how's your Thanksgiving week? And then they actually said, it wasn't good because we didn't have math class.
I love that. I love that.
Right.
It's because of your awesome personality. I'm sure that's a huge part of it. I mean, I'm not saying math is horrible or anything like that, but your personality makes a difference in the classroom for sure,
Yeah.
no matter
I
what
mean,
you're
yeah.
teaching.
Yes, at one point in time, our company mission is to make math stimulating and fun. Math should be fun, you
Yes.
know? Yeah,
Yes.
anyway, so fun.
That's interesting because I have a very similar philosophy because my background is primarily in ballet, and a lot of training is very strict,
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
which is good. But I'm like, oh, there has to have that fun element to it, or you will get burnt out, right? And
correct.
nobody wants to go
Absolutely,
there. So yes,
absolutely.
absolutely. So you love Singapore math. I know
I
that.
do.
Why don't you describe what that is and what it's like? Because I know we discussed it a little bit, but our audience hasn't heard about it.
Okay. Yeah, I know Singapore math is one of the most popular curriculum among homeschoolers, right? But for those of you who are not familiar with Singapore math is actually the curriculum that Singapore students use. Starting in 1995, there is this international global assessment. The name is Trends in International Math and Science Studies. It's not a competition, it's just an assessment. Over 60 countries participate in this assessment. And Singapore students came in first 10 out of 12 times. The last time was 2019, they came in first again. And in this assessment, US ranked 17. So we tell parents that even your A students is still 17 level below the Singapore students.
Wow.
And we don't believe the Singapore students are smarter than the US kids. We
Right.
believe they do so well because they have a rigorous curriculum, right? They have
Mm-hmm.
a superior teaching methodology.
Mm-hmm.
And the teachers are better trained. So
Mm-hmm.
we feel like because of the way math is taught in this country, our students are being done a disservice. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of potential are being wasted because math is taught wrongly. See, so now our company mission is to elevate the US students to match the top math students in the world by using Singapore math.
Awesome. Very, very cool. And it's not just limited to math, what you're doing too.
Correct, correct. Yes, yes. So yeah, once we went on Zoom, we also start offering English program. And the English program is mainly a writing program, right? So it's mostly students they struggle with writing because writing takes a lot of, skills, right? The
Yeah.
student has to be good in the vocabulary. They need to know how to put sentences together. Their grammar has to be good. I mean, there's so much involved in writing,
Yes.
all you homeschool moms understand that struggle. So over the 20 years of my homeschool journey, I researched so many curriculums. I have several walls of books, that all the different curriculums. So basically now we're offering the best that we have found to the public school parents. So like in our English classes, it's actually an hour and a half long for third graders and up. We teach them Greek and Latin roots, and we teach them, we use a rod and staff grammar program, which is excellent.
Yes.
We also use the Kilgallen sentence construction program.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that.
You
Yeah.
familiar with that? Oh, I
Yeah.
discovered it too late. I never use it with my kids, but I love that curriculum.
Yeah. I haven't used it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's
Yeah.
excellent. And then we also do IEW, which a lot of
Okay.
school parents, yeah, familiar with. And we also put together a reading database for all our students. Because when I was setting up my program, I went to Google and I do a search. What is the most popular books that kids are reading these days? Do you know what book it is? It's the Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yes.
I get it. It's like cartoonish, it's fun, it's upbeat. Yeah, I get it
Exactly.
completely.
So all the parents that I talked to, all of them know what this book, what this series of books is about.
Yeah.
And then I contrast it with The Little Princess. And there's absolutely no comparison. Just the first paragraph. The parents are convinced they can see the difference, with classical books versus,
Yeah.
the books these days, like Charlotte Mason Colored Twaddles, right?
Mm.
So basically, we definitely believe that our English program is superior than, what the public school have to offer. And
Sure.
it's true. All the parents are super convinced. Every one of them listened to our introduction is very impressed with what you have to offer. Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. So for your program, is it something where they sign up with just math and then they add in English and then they add in science, or is it a fully encapsulated program?
They can choose either they want to join the math classes only or the English classes only, but a lot of my students also, do both. They can, they have the option to, but they don't have to do both.
And is
Yeah.
it kindergarten through 12th?
Okay, we tell parents as long as your child is able to sit through an hour class, they can join. So at one point in time, I had the kinder kid doing second grade math. That was
Oh,
super impressive. Yeah. So as
yeah.
long as the child is willing to sit through class, I don't have a problem. And as you know, as homeschoolers, we don't believe in grade level anyway. So
Right. I know.
that's
It's
always
such
that's
a
why I tell
funny
the parents.
thing, but
Right,
yes,
right, right. Yeah, it's K
right.
to 12. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more about the mastery, right? Moving from
Correct.
one thing to the next.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's usually why homeschool students they tend to excel better just
Hmm.
because they can stick where they need to. They aren't pushed forward or just had it swept under the rug to go and continue. So for sure.
Correct. Correct.
Awesome. Very, very good.
I do want to add for our math program, we also have a specialized math competition prep curriculum.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so for the kids who like, all the students come into our classes, they have to take assessment first. And if the assessment come up to be higher than their peers, I will put
Mhm.
them in these classes. And we do more work. The questions in the class are more challenging.
Mhm.
The atmosphere, the classmates are all, a lot faster. It's amazing. I created that because when I was homeschooling my son from fourth grade to eighth grade, he was in math team. And I was, taking him to all the math classes, doing all the math class questions along with him. I was just blown away with all those math competition questions. They're so outside the box. They're so fun, so challenging. So for
Mm.
5 years, my son was doing all that, even though he didn't really win a lot of medals, but it laid such an awesome foundation in him that even
Mhm.
when he went to high school, in a private school, he attended a private school for high school. He was like, Mom, the math is really easy. A lot of it I already learned when I was doing math competition.
Yeah.
And yeah, and even he just went to the university here as a freshman, and for 2 or 3 times he got 100 on his calculus class, where the
Wow.
class average was like 69. I mean, he studied hard, but I felt like the foundation that got laid when he was doing
Yes.
those, math
Yes.
competition questions was really helpful. So
Right.
anyway, yeah, so I knew from my son's experience that a lot of students don't get to participate in math competition unless they're 2 or 3 grades ahead of their peers. But a
Oh.
lot of my students are only 1 grade ahead of their peers, you see. So I
Hmm.
want to provide that opportunity for them to be exposed to these math competition type questions. So yeah, I created these classes just for them.
Wow. Interesting. Very cool. I love it. Like you love math.
I do, I do.
It's fabulous. When you love something like that, that catches, right? So then your students are like, oh yeah, they just get really excited about it and then they want to learn, which is great. How awesome. Okay, so you used Singapore math with your kids, and then
Yes.
obviously you created this whole just teaching phenomena, which what I don't even know what you call
The
your
the
what
company,
yes.
Singapore Math Classes and Camps.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it nice
Yeah.
and simple. Very
Yes, yes,
easy
yes.
to
And the
find you.
website is singaporemathclasses.com.
So
Yeah.
simple. So I love that your journey started with your gifts and talents, right? God just said, you're going to use this and you're going to build a business with it. And
Mm.
really, you were just obedient. You heard his voice and you went, okay. And that was enough motivation. It sounds very similar to what I am doing here because I didn't want a business when I was young.
Oh.
I was like, oh, that sounds like way too much. And God just showed me like there was a need. And then he
Mm.
gave me this inspiration of use scripture and prayer in the classroom. And it
Wow.
was like this big, like, world opened up to me, like, wow, think of the impact that could have when you're
Wow.
actually training people in scripture and how to
Wow.
pray. Like,
Wow.
and just because you know how hard it is sometimes to come out of yourself to pray in
Yeah.
public.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I start with little biddies in the classroom and we just hold hands and they just repeat after me. And then by the time they're in their
Mhm.
like the training levels, they have to each take a turn in the classroom where it's safe,
Wow.
right? It's just their peers and they have to take a turn praying out loud. And we always say the
Wow.
scripture out loud. So yeah, it's interesting, God's little spark. And I say that because I want the homeschool families to know like you have gifts and talents in you that
Yes.
God will use to either influence others or build a business, which is also influencing others. And it's
Mhm.
just about being faithful to those little like sparks that he puts in our life. So I love your
Yes. Yes.
story. So
Yes.
are there any stories that you have seen math in someone else's life or what you've done with your program change or affect them?
Yeah. So When I first started teaching these kids, a lot of them not only improve in their math grades, they improve in all the other subject areas. They like became honor roll students, or they get
Wow.
into gifted and talented program. And I was like, wait, I teach you math, but I didn't teach you English or science or other subjects, right? So why is this happening? But it kept happening again and again and again. So like the only explanation I can give is that Singapore math actually like stimulate their thinking skill, the critical
Uh-huh.
thinking skill, and that
Mm,
ability get transferred to other subject areas. And they
wow.
just all the grades just improve. It's
Yes.
amazing to see. Amazing to
Yes.
see. And and also, I realized that a few years ago, I came across an article that says 50% of students actually drop out of the STEM field when they go to college.
Mm,
And the article went on to explain the reason is that it's because these students are not used to challenging questions, because math is taught in a way where if you can't give me an answer in 5 seconds, you're not good at math. So students here are not used to struggling and grappling with difficult questions.
yes.
And that's why when they go to college, 50% of them drop out. I have a math tutor in the university here. She told me that her professor gave them 4 math questions for the math quiz, and they were given 10 hours to do those 4 questions.
Whoa.
Yes, yes. So when I saw the quote that the professor gave the class, like, something to do with math, you need to grapple with it, think outside the box, all of that. I saw that quote. I was like, wait, this is exactly what I'm trying to produce in my students. And then I
Uh-huh.
realized I'm not only helping them improve the math grade now, I'm actually preparing them for college, you
Wow.
know? And
Yeah.
even eventually, there's one mom that gave me a testimony that a lot of her colleagues from Asian countries, their problem solving skill is actually a notch higher than the other peers. So then that made me realize how we train our kids affect them not only now, not only in college, but actually for the rest of their lives
Yeah.
in the workplace. You
Wow.
know, with a lot of jobs taking over by AI, we really need to train our kids to be problem solvers.
Yes.
Able to tackle problems
Yes.
outside the box way. And yeah, so that I feel like, wow, my mission, using Singapore Math is so much higher now.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
to help
Yeah.
improve the math grades, help them in college, even help them for the rest of their lives. It is amazing to think about.
Yes, that's amazing. I love that because that's what we should be doing. We should be problem solvers. It sounds like I haven't done an in-depth study on what you're doing, but like connecting the right brain and the left brain, it sounds like it's done some things to really get those connections to cross so that you can think outside of the box and come up with new
Yes,
solutions. I love it. That's so fabulous.
yes, yes, yes.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close? Anything you'd like to say to the
Yeah.
homeschool families?
I just want to present one simple questions. I love this because I also challenge the parents and then I let them know the beauty of Singapore math. So I have a simple question for y'all. This is from book 1. So this is a question, again, it shows the beauty of Singapore math, right? So the question is this: sun plus moon is 10. Moon minus sun is 2. What number does sun represent and what number does moon represent?
Mm,
That's
wow.
book 1. So yeah. So essentially you can see it's actually an algebraic questions, but these are for 6-year-olds. So don't think about X and Y. Don't replace it with algebra. It's just a simple question, but I love it to show the beauty of Singapore math.
Wow. Yeah, I would have to ponder that for a bit. I can understand why the 10 hours for 4 questions if it's something like that.
Yeah, so feel free to, I'm sure after you think about it for a few minutes, you get the answer. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a cool question. I have a lot
Awesome.
of engineering parents struggle with Singapore math, book 1 and book 2 questions. So that's amazing to
Interesting.
see also.
So the younger you start, the better, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yes. Because our classes are year round, we tell parents if you start young, by the time they're 7th grade, they're actually not only material-wise, they're 2 grades ahead, but their problem-solving skill ability is definitely going to be light years ahead of their peers.
Awesome. Very, very cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Leeling. It's been just an honor to speak with you and just a blessing to get to know you. I love it. And you have such a great light and airiness to you and bubbliness. I love that so much. And I just can't wait to talk with you again. And I look forward to seeing, who's connected with you through this summit. So God
Thank you
bless
very much.
you. God bless everyone who's been watching this. May you have a beautifully blessed day. Bye.
Thank you, Andrea. Bye.